Hello everyone, I am Rod and I am the game design instructor for the Academy of Entertainment Arts over at Dixie Hollands High School. If you are one of my students, it's Mr. Flowers to you, and welcome to this video tutorial. Alright, so in this video I'm going to show you how to take our UV layout that we created for our door and bring it into Photoshop and do the painting so that we can have a nice door looking kind of texture. I'm going to go down to my little files here, and I'm going to go into my Maya folder. That's inside of Libraries, Documents, Maya, and then Projects, Default, and then we want the Images folder. You can see I have quite a few things in here. I have a door UV and I have a door frame UV. So I'm going to drag both of these in here. I'm going to drag the door in first. And I'm going to name this door UVs. I'm going to go ahead and lock the layer because I don't want to mess it up. And then I will create a new layer. Whoops, wrong button. New layer, drag this below my door. This is going to be my background. I always fill a background just so I can see my UVs because they're black and it's hard to see them. And I will drop a lock on that so I don't mess it up. So here's the door one, and to not be confusing, I won't bring in the door frame just yet, but I will add a new layer, and this will be my color layer. And I always start off with a basic color layer, and then I work up from there. For this door, I could do like a traditional matte white kind of door with a little dimple piece in the center. I think that'll work. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my magic wand tool. Actually, I won't do the magic wand. I'll just fill this in with a color. Let's assume we want our door to be, I don't know, white. You can pick any color that you like. I'm just going to do a white door, but I'm not going to do just white. I'm going to do like a white with some speckles on it. So I'm going to grab my white color. You can switch it with the little arrow down here. And on my layer, I'm going to regret doing this with white UVs, but I will drop this in. And here's my white fill. And then I'm going to go to Filter, Add Noise. And I just want to put some speckles on here, just to make it subtle. 2% is probably plenty. Then I'll go to my filter gallery, artistic filter gallery. And what I have selected here is texture. And that's down here under texture. That's texturize. We have mosaic, which doesn't look very good on white. You can do stained glass if you really wanted a stained glass kind of door. Patchwork. You have these little creases. You can go to stylize. You can do sketches. This kind of gives, excuse me, it kind of gives this little stony sort of look. I kind of like the way notepaper looks, so I'm going to grab notepaper. If you want, you can adjust your image balance, your graininess, and your relief. Graininess has to do with the speckling. Relief is how deep the protrusions go, and image balance should be like its brightness contrast kind of deal. And I'll hit OK. And that gives the door a little bit of texture to it. What I'll do from here is most of this I don't have to change. If you need to have like a section where you want to see the little piece inside the door that latches to the door frame, you can paint that on right here. I'm not going to do that. But what I will do is shrink this down so that only the door UVs are covered and the rest of this is kind of blacked out. So I'm going to go to Edit, and I'll do a free transform. I'm just going to snap this down to about there. Bring this one up to there. And that's fine. And you don't really have to do that. I just don't like having the texture kind of bleeding out into the infinite. If it bugs you and you want to make sure there are no seams, you can have that filling. I'm not going to worry about that. What I will do is I want to have a spot on here that's kind of cut out and has some depth to it. So what I'll do is I will grab my little marquee selection tool and I will grab out a section and I will hit Control C to copy, Control V to paste, and all I'll do is add on a drop shadow. Let's try inner shadow. 0, distance. I kind of like the way that looks, but I want it to go a little bit differently. Let me see how, if I change my angle here, actually I'm not going to change the angle. To pull this up, that might do it. Let's see how a drop shadow looks instead. The drop shadow kind of makes it look like it's pushed off the door. And I'm just doing this for effect because I'm going to put a bump map on here so you can see it pop out from the door. But I do want it to look like it's going in. So let's try bevel and emboss. And we will do outer bevel. Nope, we'll do inner bevel. And that's kind of the effect that I'm going for. But it's bugging me. What if I do an emboss? That'll work for... I don't know, I'm being picky. I don't know which one I want. What if I raise the choke on this and drop the opacity down? Not sure which one I want to go with. I'll stick with bevel and emboss for now. And I will hit OK. I don't know what I want to call this. I guess panel. I'll say front upper panel. And I'll do one on the lower end. And then I will grab these both and move them on the other side. I don't know how I feel about the light trailing off, but we'll get to see the effect when we apply the bump map to it. So that's okay. I'm going to put all of these into a group. So grab everything except for the UVs and the background. And I'm going to hit group. If you're on Photoshop Creative Cloud, when you do this, it'll auto group everything. So when you do that, everything will drop into the group. And you can change the group name to door. Just make sure those are in there. We can kind of collapse that. And the reason I have this collapsed is I'm going to do some fancy work to it in just a second. But I want to do the doorknob as well. So for my doorknob, I'm going to create a new layer. Call this doorknob. And I'm going to do metallic. And the way I'm going to do metal is 2 different shades of gray. So I'm going to grab this, come up and grab a light shade of gray. And then I'll grab a dark gray. I will do a filter, render, and I will do clouds. And that'll fill everything with the clouds layer. And what I want to do is add speckles. So filter, come down to noise, and I'll just do an add noise. I will bring the noise up, I'll say 5%. And I will leave this as monochromatic. Right now it's not monochromatic, but I want this to be black and white. So I'm going to hit monochromatic. Hit OK. And then one last thing for this is filter. We'll come down to blur, and we'll add a motion blur. And what this will do is it'll give it some streaks. See that? And those streaks, mine are at a 45-degree angle, distance is 5. Will make it look like brushed steel. So if we kind of come in on this, it looks like brushed steel, which is nice. I'm going to take this and shrink it down and then cover this one spot. So edit, we'll do free transform, and I will hold shift and just kind of bring it in, let go of shift, scrunch it down. I know I'm being evil with photos by not holding shift, but this should fill everything, which is fine. I'll hit the checkbox, and that will work for our needs for here. One last thing we have to do is apply our bump map. So I'm not going to do a bump map on the metal part. I'm only going to do a bump map on the actual door itself. So I'm going to select my door, group, hold Alt on the keyboard, and I will drag it down to make a copy. I'm going to turn the actual door off. I will move my copy above my background so I can see it. And then I will right-click on the copy, go down to Merge Group, and what that'll do is make a single image that is just one little picture. And the reason I'm doing that is I need to do some modifications to this. So I'm going to go up to Image, Adjustments, Black and White. And what a bump map will do is it'll take the black and white information and create a level of depth, or a height map, basically. So anything that is white will appear higher than anything that is dark. And it's just a visual illusion. It's not really any change in the geometry, but it will give an aesthetic that's kind of cool. And I will just hit, let's see what I do when I hit auto. Nothing. Let me go ahead and redo that. Black and white. Hit OK. Just to make sure that it is black and white, there's no color on here, because if there were color information, it wouldn't read correctly. And I'm just going to name this bump. So, bump. So now what I'm going to do is turn off the UVs. That way I don't have the lines cutting through. Let's go up to File, Save As. I'm going to drop this into my game design folder. Inside of my texture maps, this is going to be my door to UVs. Make sure I save that as a PSD first. And then I'm going to save this out as a target file. And the reason I save it as a target is they read really well in Unreal, and they do well in Maya's. And I have a bunch of options with it. And when it compresses, it doesn't lose any information. So this will be door to, and I'm going to say D for diffuse, because that's going to be the one that has my color information. Targa. I'm going to put T in front of that, so and I will say texture map. And the reason I'm saying texture map instead of texture is this particular texture is mapped to the UVs of this door, so it won't fit any other object. It'll only fit this door. So I have to put a reminder in there so that I know it's a texture map and not just a texture. Save that out, make sure it's 24-bit. Then I will turn the doorknob off. And I actually made a mistake on that. I saved my bump map out, even though they both look the same. Turn my bump map off, turn my door on, and I will re-save that. Targa. And I'll just save back over my door to texture map. Okay. Even though they look the same, they are different. I make sure I turn my door off and turn the doorknob off, and I will just save the bump map information. File, Save As, Targa, and take my door to texture and make sure that I say change the D to a B for bump. Save, hit OK. If I jump back into Maya and I grab my door, let's add a Lambert, I'll call this door texture. Now we do have a color channel, and we also have a diffuse channel. You can use the diffuse channel to load your diffuse map that we made. I'm just going to use the color channel for now. Color, File, and I will go to my game design folder inside of my texture maps. Texture maps, and my door texture. Open that up. Push 6 on the keyboard will bring the door texture to life. So it's on there. You see how it's flat? I knew I wouldn't like this little shadow piece, but it's on there, right? Now we're going to, and you can see that our door knob is also painted and door knob like. There's a tear right there. We'll have to fix that. So what we're going to do is we're going to add the bump map. So I'll go back into my door texture. I'm going to go down to bump mapping. Click the little button, File, and when it brings you to this little window that says Bump Map 2D, you want bump value. Hit the little arrow, go into the little folder and grab your bump map, hit open, and if you look at this now, it looks like this thing has some actual depth to it, which is really cool. This is a little bit too strong, so I'm going to change how this depth looks. So up here under File 2, I'm going to hit the little arrow, and it'll bring up my bump depth, and you can scroll this up or down to kind of get some of the bumping. So it doesn't have to come out like too harsh. But it's subtle. Now I don't like the way this turned out on this. I think I might prefer the drop shadow a little nicer, but that'll work for that piece. All right, so that's how we have the door. What I'm going to let you do is the door frame on your own, and when we get back, I will show you how to bring this into Unreal and set it up. Okay.